Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the Saturday Night Hockey Show. So we are back on Facebook this week after my 1 month banning, and so reunited and it feels so good. Uh, but we'll see how long I can stay on Facebook now.
Not not long.
To post any Jeffrey Dahmer memes or anything like that. But
I have little to no faith in you not talking about Hannibal Lecter or something.
yeah, that might be the one because I like posting that. The Silence of the Lambs, puts the lotion in the basket or gets the hose again, that type of stuff. So yeah, I'll
We know
probably,
that's your style.
yeah, it is. So we are winding very close to the trade deadline, which is on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Um, and this week most of the news really revolves on some trades that have occurred this week already. So I think some of the fire of trade deadline day has definitely taken a hit, especially with some of the trades that happened today. I think um, not surprised that some of these pieces are moved already, and teams have already addressed their needs. Anyway, again, we are an interactive show, so if you have a question or comment or concern, or want to speak with a manager, absolutely pop a
Yeah, say something.
yeah, say something. Yeah, bring it.
Or
Yeah, just pop it into the comments, and we'll respond to them on the air. All right, so let's take a look. Yeah, let me get this off, and we are going
Dave's going all casual this week. No introductions.
no
Hi
introduction.
guys, I'm Travis Aurednik, and this is my co-host David Valente. Let's see,
Who
what
am
else
I?
does he say?
Who am I?
There's
Why am I here?
uh, he talks about hockey and organizes things, and I talk about hockey and let Dave organize things.
That's pretty much it.
That's it.
That's the way. That's I'm okay with that. So,
I'm
all right.
Dave's
So,
punching bag for ideas.
yeah, and he beats up on my Buffalo Sabres. So
I beat up on everything.
that's true. All right. So tonight or this afternoon, we had a couple of trades hit the wires. Actually, three trades. The first one is uh, David Savard. Let me get to that part of the trade
Yeah,
track for the NHL. David Savard got traded by the Columbus Blue Jackets. It was a three-team trade. Involved the Detroit Red Wings. If you read the trade, it is very convoluted. My thought is that Detroit is retaining some salary because all they received in this deal was a fourth round pick. And Tampa gets David Savard and another prospect defenseman, Lashoff, I believe, from Columbus. Columbus gets a first and a third round pick in 2022. But it's a very convoluted trade. But it wasn't surprising. There's been a lot of rumors that Savard was on the market, and the Lightning were a destination that he might be going to. So
yeah. I think if I was Savard right now, the first thing that would be demanding is a full setup game proper jersey from the Red Wings,
yes,
um, just to hang on my wall. Just where when
exactly.
people come in, they're like, "You played for the Red Wings." That would be pretty funny.
It was the one most glorious hour of his career right there.
Yeah, yeah. He's kind of fallen into obscurity, so I'm hoping to see a little bit more out of him with Tampa. And
Yeah,
Tampa's making another cup run, so he really might actually be one of those end of, or close to trade deadline trades that shows up and does something spectacular in playoffs.
sure. Um, Buffalo, this does signal that Columbus is really serious about getting into a rebuild. Um, the Torts era of Columbus is winding down. They're falling off, and so I expect them to probably finish in their current seventh position in the Central, and Torts will be let go that first day after the season is over. Um,
And actually, it's interesting right now if you look at TSN's trade tracker. basically the entire trade tracker is like Columbus, 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 jump, Columbus, jump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Columbus, Buffalo, Columbus, Buffalo.
Yeah, everybody's up, and it's been pretty dead on with their trade expectations. Actually, I think that number one was it Montour?
No, it was Savard.
Savard. There you go. See,
Yeah.
that was before he got traded. So,
and speaking of Brandon Montour was traded to the Florida Panthers for a third-round pick in this draft. I hate this deal. I know that
that hurts.
I know that Brandon Montour is an unrestricted free agent in the offseason. Probably made it clear that he was not going to be re-signing with Buffalo. I don't blame him. But when they acquired Brandon Montour, they traded away a first-round pick. I think that was one that was acquired in the no, it was not the St. Louis pick. It was San Jose pick in the Evander Kane trade. And a prospect, Brendan Gooley, who really hasn't panned out. He's in the AHL right now. And you're not cracking Anaheim's lineup right now, then you're not developing as you should. Yeah. So, but you dealt away a first-round pick, and to deal him out, you're doing a third-round pick. And this guy's a free agent in the offseason. They should have retained salary to get a better pick out of Florida for this. Right now, Florida is one of the top teams in the league, so this pick is going to be in the 90s somewhere, probably close to almost 100 on the board. That's just not enough return for Brandon Montour. And yeah, he played on the Sabres. Sabres have had a rough season, but Montour was one of those guys that was trying to hold everyone accountable during that awful streak. And
I don't think you're going to see anything good come from a trade with Buffalo, though. I think that return on investment is an unknown term for Buffalo for this upcoming rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. We'll see what they get with that pick. Maybe they can package that pick and move up in the draft, or I don't know. But I was not happy with the return, and I think you're looking at two trades that Buffalo have made in this early rebuild, and both of them were undervalued. I think they did not get enough value. Eric Stahl, yeah, he had a down season, but Buffalo retained half of his salary. Like, they should have been able to get something a little more significant than like a third and a fifth. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, but trading with Buffalo is like playing Minesweeper.
Sure.
But every box is a 1. And also you're in 5th grade and you don't know how to play Minesweeper.
Well, and that's the problem, is that the GM of the Buffalo Sabres is a neophyte. He has no experience being the GM of any kind of organization, an assistant GM or anything like that. So he's showing his inexperience, and he's getting taken at this point. So
this is a good place for him to start, because there's literally no way to tank this team.
Well, there's no. I mean, people say that we've hit the bottom of the barrel. No, we've busted through the bottom of the barrel. And we keep digging. So I mean, the barrel is no longer relevant. We keep digging. How do we stop digging at this point? But yeah, it's frustrating. This is not a good start. I mean, I was telling you that the big piece that remains out there is Taylor Hall, and I'm like, are we going to get like a stale, half-eaten bag of Doritos for Taylor Hall? Like,
I would give you that. Seeing what he did in Arizona, which was say, "Hi, my name's Taylor Hall, and I have a reputation."
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah,
he never settled in for us. He never settled in for you. It's another guy that was good, that has fallen into irrelevancy by his own fault.
Yeah.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, I guess. I don't really know what else to say about it, because it would have been avoidable for him if he just signed a team-friendly deal with Boston or Montreal or one of these teams that maintains relevancy and got on a line with people that he could play with, he
Yeah.
could win anywhere he wanted for as much money as he wanted. And I think the big thing to remember right now is that third round pick might not be as bad as we think,
Oh, no.
because you don't know what you're getting this year. There's about 15 names that will go, and we're not sure of the order other than Powers is pretty much on top for everybody. There's like 15 names that are for sure top 15 picks.
Yeah.
But after that, just pull a name out of the hat, because we haven't seen these guys play. They've lost a year and a quarter of development time.
I think we're going to see much more heavy drafting out of Russia and Sweden because those leagues were playing.
Places they could play, yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you scout this? Like,
it's video scouting right now.
and dude, that's such a weird thought for me, that the entire league is revolving around video scouting.
Sure.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and perhaps Buffalo has a little bit of advantage because they did do video scouting for a number of years after Tom Golisano bought the team, and so they were kind of the leading edge of transitioning to a video scouting organization, but they hadn't done it in a few years. They actually had scouts all over the world until Kim Pegula decided to fire the entire scouting staff last offseason. So, God, I hate my team.
Well, maybe somebody remembered a name that one guy mentioned a while back.
Maybe. You never know. The third trade today was Devin Dubnyk got dealt from San Jose in exchange for Greg Patterin and a fifth.
Why? I mean, I see that they didn't pay anything for him, but at the same time, dude, anything coming from the Sharks going to the Avs is like.
Well, there weren't. Colorado was burnt last year going into the playoffs, relying on Grubauer, and Grubauer getting injured, first game or so of the playoffs, and then relying on Pavel Francouz or whatever his name is.
Francois.
It wasn't Francois. It was Francouz or something like that.
I don't even know. I don't think I called that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then even he got injured, and I can't remember who came in to replace Francouz, and they're just paranoid right now that they're going to end up having to go to a second or third string goalie because the playoffs are rougher, and it's a better chance your goalie's going to go down. So Devin Dubnyk was kind of the odd man out. Martin Jones has played relatively well which is surprising because Martin Jones has been missing for like 3
Martin Jones, yeah. I think that I would have called Scott Foster before I traded for Devin Dubnyk.
I don't know. He's experienced. He's taken teams.
Is that the kind of experience you want, though? This guy knows how to be quiet in the locker room after a game.
Yeah,
I mean, that's his level of experience.
Well, he was the Wild's goaltender for a while.
Yeah, and he did really well for the little bubble of semi-obscurity that the Wild has hung in for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Kind of right there for Arizona.
But it's an upgrade over Jonas Johansson.
That's true.
So, I mean, they wanted something that was a little bit more substantial than Jonas Johansson as the backup. Now, I'm sure Johansson goes to the taxi squad, and I guess the NHL requires you carry 3 goalies right now. So Jonas will be sitting in his pads in the locker room, I think. And then yesterday we had a couple trades. The Colorado Patrick Nemeth got released early from New York or from Detroit. Released on his own recognizance and went to Colorado, and I'm sure he's ecstatic about that. They got a 4th round selection for him in the 22 draft. That's an interesting thing. I think Detroit does not feel particularly strong about the 21 draft, so they were willing to accept a 22 draft pick, knowing that they'd probably be able to have a year of evaluation on a player that they're drafting that late. So I wonder if teams will be moving more towards those 22 draft picks than the 20.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that right now the value of a 2021 draft pick is about as much as a warm body.
Yeah.
Because again, it's just pulled out of a hat.
And then the other trade that happened yesterday, which is an interesting trade, is that the Maple Leafs acquired Riley Nash from the Columbus Blue Jackets. What makes it interesting, I mean, Riley Nash is a good hard-nosed player, but what made it interesting is that he was recently injured and he's out 4 to 6 weeks. So Toronto is taking a chance here in acquiring a guy that is a good physical player that a hard-nosed player, but they're not going to be able to use him until the middle of the playoffs if they're still playing. And trying to get a guy have some kind of chemistry with, I'm guessing the fourth line on the Maple Leafs is kind of risky. I mean, I know Riley Nash is a good player. I just don't know that he's going to be able to develop that chemistry with his line mates in the middle of a playoff series. And fourth liners are your pluggers and all that stuff. But if you get your fourth line out in an inopportune time, if they don't have chemistry, you could it could be a costly goal against and cost you a series. So it's an interesting.
Toronto's in such an interesting position right now because they don't need anything.
Not to get through. Well, I mean, they have such a bad history, recent playoff history, that if really for Toronto, if they don't make the semifinals, they don't win the North Division. That North Division playoff series, the first 2 rounds. I'm sure Kyle Dubas is going to be gone.
Well, there's one thing standing between Toronto and, I mean, probably a cup.
Toronto.
No. Toronto looks fantastic. Campbell looks fantastic. Austin Matthews is the best all-around player in the league right now. I'm not saying goal scorer because that's McDavid. The defensive core is phenomenal. The depth for Toronto is phenomenal. Everybody's been able to stay healthy so far. The only thing that could honestly stand between Toronto and making a cup final is Connor McDavid. I really think that's the only person that stands between Toronto and making a cup run.
I don't know. I mean, they're going to have to prove that they can get through that first round. It's been their bugaboo the last, at least with this iteration of the Toronto Maple Leafs, getting through that first round. Because let's say they play Montreal, and there's big hatred between these two teams.
Oh yeah,
Montreal gets up to a 2 game to 1 lead in the series, or 2 game to none lead in the series. Toronto could mentally collapse because they failed at this hill so many times. Or let's say that Montreal is game and they get it to a game 7. Toronto, this team has had a history of game 7 collapses. Look at last year against Columbus. And that was not game 7, but it was the final game of the series. Look at the Boston series, both Boston series. They lose in game 7. The first time they lost was they were up 3-0 in the third and they collapsed.
I think the big differentiator here is that Toronto didn't have a goaltender then. And if Campbell stays hot the way that he is, those boys are going to be on top of the world and nothing could ever take them down. If he can maintain that speed of stop that he has, because in Toronto, there's only like 2 modes for a goaltender. It's like you let in under 2 or under, and you're a hero. It doesn't matter if we won, lost, or other. Yeah. You let in under 2, that's the gold standard. Congrats, you made it. or you let in over 2 and you're the incarnate of Satan himself, and you've obviously come here to sink our ship. That's starting to look kind of different because Campbell is letting in, 2 or better periodically, and nobody seems to be jumping on him. And I think it's all a personality thing, because if you watch interviews with this guy, he's probably the most down-to-earth person in the NHL since Patrick Kane.
I think with it's going to be a totally different beast when they get to the playoffs. And if he has a stinker of a game in the playoffs, again,
I don't think it'll derail him. I really don't. I think he'll bounce back.
Maybe not, but this is going to take a Jordan Binnington-esque leap of faith for Toronto to keep going and relying on a guy who didn't even start at the beginning of the season. This is really kind of it does mirror the Jordan Binnington story. And although Binnington really came out of nowhere, Jack Campbell was actually a very high draft pick of the Dallas Stars and was, groomed to be their goaltender of the future. And it never panned out. He got traded to LA. LA used him one season. He was bouncing around their system a little bit but he used him when Jonathan Quick got injured.
Goaltenders don't usually produce until they get close to that 30-year mark, though. That's where they really start to level out. I think he's 27.
Yeah.
He's plateauing is what kind of goaltender he is, and I think that's Toronto's aware of that.
Yeah, and sure. I mean, this may be his coming out party, and that he's gonna bring Toronto to the promised land. For me, I think that there's a concern that Toronto's recent playoff series or playoff miseries will have a collective impact on that team moving forward. They're going to have to, if they get past that first round, I think that will kind of send them on a run. I don't think that they probably won't play Edmonton in the first round. They'll if they play Edmonton, it's going to be the division finals.
Yeah.
But Edmonton's got to get past Winnipeg.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting series too.
It is.
I think that one's going to rest 100% on Hellebuyck.
Yeah.
I mean, for both teams, it's going to be all Hellebuyck. He's going to be the deciding factor for where that series goes.
Sure. Okay, so let's take a look at the standings. Let me pop that out, and we are going to get. Sorry, folks, this is a little slow today.
So,
yeah, I hear that. All right, so standings. Let's go to the what do we have at first? The West. Who's your hot team in the West or player?
Probably gonna have to be Smith for Vegas. As much as I hate it, dropping the deuce on Arizona last night in that 7-4 win.
Yeah,
Vegas looks really good, and as oddly as it comes off, Vegas is kind of my underdog for the West. Realistically, though, we've been pretty focused on Colorado, but man, what an upset that would be! Because Colorado is so hot. I think that it could be one of those kind of like Boston getting turned up last year.
Yeah. So for me, I think we actually hit on this early in the season that we were like, what's going on with Nathan McKinnon? And he's not scoring as much as we thought he would, and he's quietly on an 8-game point streak. He's got 5 goals, 5 goals, 8 assists in an 8-game point streak. He now leads the team in scoring in points. So he's my hot guy for the West. My not, who did I put? Oh, yeah. Sorry, your Arizona Coyotes, giving up a tough loss to the LA Kings. They went into the third leading 3-1 in that game, and LA's really kind of fallen off the track. I mean, they're at 7th now, despite being kind of in that 4th place for a while. But Los Angeles came back in that game, won it in regulation, so they didn't even get the loser point out of it.
Yeah,
and then they got wrecked. Yeah, and then they got wrecked by Vegas, and so not a good time. They've that race for 4th now is tightening up. Not only St. Louis, who have managed to drop a couple. They dropped it on Minnesota last night too, 9-1. Ryan O'Reilly with a hat trick in that game. But
yeah, the year of the hat trick.
Yeah, hat tricks all over the place this year. And San Jose, look at them, man. They're rocketing up the charts.
San Jose's going back to the bottom.
They might. I don't know.
They're not rocketing. They stepped on 2 mediocre teams that should have stepped on my mediocre team. My knot right now is OEL. Love you, buddy. Stop. I would love to get rid of Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Just for any reason. I do like him. I think he's one of the most overpaid defensemen right now for performance. I think that he's probably about to Erik Karlsson his way out of relevancy with the Coyotes. It seems like it's about that time for him to get a good bump or bruise and put him down. OEL was one of my favorite players, and now he's just kind of getting old, man. And he's not performing to standard, which nobody on the Coyotes is, so you can't say too much about it. But I want out of OEL. And also, I don't even mind being beat by the Kings because we're about to see a dynasty come up that's going to look like the Purple People Eaters in '84. I'm genuinely excited for the Kings.
Yeah, I mean they
2023 Kings for the Cup.
They could screw it up if they they try and accelerate the if they foolishly think that they're buyers in this at this trade deadline and they deal off some of those prospects for Taylor Hall or something like that, then yeah, you could screw it up. I mean that's how Buffalo screwed up their coming out of their tank is they tried to accelerate by making trades and trading off prospects and pieces that were brought in to kind of rebuild the team, and that's how you do it. So in this division, who do you have as buyers and sellers in this division?
I think that right now the biggest buyer that you're going to be looking at is probably Minnesota. We haven't heard a lot about Minnesota making any moves, but seeing the position that they're in, that they have a pretty good lead on everybody else. They've kind of separated that third.
Yep.
Minnesota has got some pretty crappy long-term contracts, but they also have quite a bit to play with as far as cap space goes for forwards and such. So Minnesota's probably buyer. Sellers, I think that St. Louis is going to start dropping off some of that Cup team in an effort to pick up some younger guys and find some more chemistry. Because after you had Maroon leave, you had the meltdown with Bennington. That team just hasn't looked anything like the playoff team that won the Cup. So,
except for last night.
I don't even know if they looked like it last night.
Well, I mean, they had a really great night. I think basically everyone in this division except for LA and Anaheim will think that they've got a realistic shot at being in the playoffs. Even San Jose. I mean, look at San Jose's got 2 games in hand on Arizona and are 3 points out. So they win those 2 games, they're actually in 4th. But
no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, will San Jose continue their 7-3 in the last 10. That's a pretty good pace right now. Second best in the division. So whether they continue it or not, that's the thing. San Jose realistically should sell because they do have some pieces that they could bring in to bring in or have some decent return.
Dude, Thomas Hurdle is worth like a first round and a second or third line forward.
Yeah, I would
Easy.
love to have Hurdle.
No, I think that right now my big hope for the West is to see Arizona drop down to fifth and just take the playoffs off, take it easy, have a little bit of time to recuperate from this wild season and understand that we will not be more relevant because we were in fourth than we will be in fifth. We're Arizona. This is what we do. We don't need to be in playoffs because we're not going to go anywhere with it. Right now, we'd be playing Vegas. Last night's a pretty good indicator of how we play Vegas. Hard losses. That's all we know how to do against them. And with Colorado and Vegas standing between us and getting out of the West, no, we're not. Yeah. It's just, by some crazy chance we do beat Vegas. Colorado is definitely going to take out Minnesota. So then it's us against Colorado, and that's just not a.
That's a gauntlet to get through.
That would probably be the worst schedule for playoffs in the league. I think that fourth place, if this is the standing, you could insert any team in the league into fourth place, and it would be the worst schedule you could ask for.
Sure. Yeah. Because, and Minnesota even is will be a tough out for whoever they play. Right now it's Vegas. It'll either Vegas or Colorado. They'll be a tough out for them because they're a talented team. I don't think they've got enough horses to pull that upset. But say they do, going up against the Minnesota team is not an easy task either.
No, I mean, it's a crapshoot all the way around. I just think it's more realistic to say that we could take out Minnesota than we could take out the top two.
Yeah.
If we played Minnesota, I would feel pretty confident that we actually might be able to win that. In the long run, I think we've got better duration players than Minnesota has got. We definitely have a better goaltender. Minnesota is an older team. Everybody on Minnesota's getting up there a little bit, and I don't think playoffs would be good for any of them. So I think that Minnesota's a realistic beat for us. It'd still be a tough one, but it would be a realistic beat. I'm just saying the gatekeeper of the West, be it Colorado or Vegas, is that's if we could beat Colorado or Vegas in a series, I would rate that higher in personal joy than a Stanley Cup. The way that it stands right now.
I will say though, if Arizona and St. Louis finish tied for fourth, that the tiebreaker should be that 7-game series that they played, and Arizona goes to the playoffs. I think that's how it should work out.
I think Arizona should just take the L and walk for the season. Everybody can take a good vacation.
There you go. All right. Our Central Division.
Root for the home team. I am a forced Carolina fan. Is a home team.
Yeah.
And my absolute favorite player on this team right now is Vinny Trocheck. The success story of waiver wire Vinny. Man, he found a home here.
Yeah. I
mean, he let's see, was it the Panthers game? They shut out the Panthers, and also that new goaltender for Carolina. I still can't remember the kid's name. Alex something.
Nedeljkovic.
Nedeljkovic. Yeah. This team looks really hot. They don't look playoff hot. They just look entertaining.
Yeah.
And
he's not my not hot player, but what has happened to Svechnikov? He's not scoring at all.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
Sveshnikov is my favorite player in the league.
yeah. I kind of a disappointing, and hopefully he finds his game by the time they hit the playoffs. But
Yeah, but Carolina's got so many other guys that are
yeah,
stepping up. You got Niederreiter, you got Aho, you got Teravainen. So
yeah,
many,
that's
so
what.
many names that were middle ground names
Yeah,
that have now like really come up. Like these guys look stupid good. The line chemistry is good. The locker room chemistry is good. This is a team that is fun to watch. They're fun on and off the ice if you keep up with teams. Everybody's interesting. Everybody's got a personality. Even their play styles are so much different.
yeah.
A lot of the forwards for Carolina and a lot of the defensemen like Dougie Hamilton. Dougie's a man on his own.
Call yourself Douglas, man. Anyway, so and that makes them especially dangerous when it comes to the playoffs because I would much rather play Edmonton in a playoff series where you have to focus on one line and stopping that
Yeah.
one line than a Carolina where you could stop one line very effectively, but the other three lines are scoring on you, and that's much tougher out.
Yeah, I mean Carolina's got a bingo caller telling you who's going to score. That's the cool thing about it. It's like if your number comes up, then you've got the puck, and that's who has it. And it's been a consistent game to game thing. It's not just been like a one game like third and fourth line guys are dropping them on. This is like the top three are inconsistently scoring.
Yeah,
and it's just a fun thing to watch.
my hot team in this division is Nashville. I gave them a little bit of a shout out last week, but they're 9-1 in their last 10. They have moved solidly into that fourth place. They're 4 points up. I am surprised, and a lot of people were talking about Nashville being sellers at the trade deadline. Matthias Ekholm and a few other players, Granlund, getting shipped out. I don't think that happens anymore. I think they're solidly buyers at this point.
I think they were sellers. They would have been sellers.
Yeah, if somebody come with a solid offer for Matthias Ekholm like 2 weeks ago, he would have been gone. Or Granlund a couple weeks ago, those guys would have been gone, and this streak may not happen for Nashville, but they got hot at the right time and are now in a much different position than they were 2 weeks ago. So kudos to Nashville. I had them dead and buried in February because both the goaltenders looked awful.
Everything looked awful.
Yeah,
they had no performing centers. They couldn't win a faceoff to save their life. The defensemen, when not injured, were pretty decent. That's about all they had going for them.
yeah,
and you couldn't find a goalie in the state of Tennessee.
exactly. And so, yeah, kudos to them for getting rocking up the standings here. And we're starting to see. Yeah, I don't think either one of us had Chicago in the playoffs at the beginning of the season.
I don't still.
Yeah, they're sinking off into the sunset. But my not hot team in this division is Columbus because I think we're just watching the end of the Tortorella era. You're seeing people checking out.
Columbus is getting ready to just dump everything and hope for 2022 prospects and 2023 picks. And
yeah, it's I expect Tortorella to get that call the first day after the season's over, and that he's been fired. And it's going to be a difficult situation for the next coach to walk into because who knows what they've got left on that team. I mean, they did go for it. They made the trade for Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic. They looked fine for a bit, but I think the culture in Columbus right now is kind of poisoned because Torts is coaches like Torts have a short shelf life. They'll have that immediate success. The 2 or 3 years into their reign is probably about the max shelf life before that gets old.
Yeah, and actually, that trade is my knot. The underperformance of Patrick Laine in Columbus is my not hot for this division.
Yeah.
Somebody so much promise that looked so good that change of scenery will help. And I think that it is kind of the effect of he went to America's Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
he wanted to be a superstar playing somewhere that he could go sit on the beach, and instead he's sitting on the same lake.
Exactly. Yeah. So
now my big underperformer for this division is Dallas. I don't think that I could have been any more surprised by a team to come in so sideways and perform so poorly.
It's not even that they're performing poorly. It's they're so inconsistent.
That's poor performance.
They manhandled Florida. They played really well against Florida, and big kudos to Jason Robertson. If it wasn't for Kirill Kaprizov, he'd probably be one of those favorites for the Calder. But they'll handle Florida. They can beat Tampa, but then they lose to Chicago. I think they've.
Now I wonder though, because Florida did take the L to Dallas.
Yeah,
and then Florida got stoned pretty hard by Carolina. Are we seeing two teams that are better than Florida, or are we seeing Florida start to fall off?
Well, maybe it might be the impact of the Aaron Ekblad injury, and that
is this
it seemed like Philadelphia
time for Florida?
Yeah, there's what are Florida as good as a first place team in the division? I don't know. Especially not without Aaron Ekblad.
Florida's not better than Tampa. Florida's not going to be better than Tampa. The best hope that Florida has is they don't have to play Tampa.
Yeah, that Tampa, snoozes through the first round of the playoffs. But as it stands now,
Tampa's too consistent defensively for Florida to Florida them, because Florida being a team is just breakaway, floor it, go.
Yeah.
Tampa doesn't have those defensive gaps. Florida can't handle that game.
Yeah. Florida, that will be a playoff series that I want to see, though. The first battle of Florida in the playoffs, I think, will be fascinating to watch. I think Tampa comes out on top, especially, I think of the two trades that they made today, I think Tampa came out on top getting a better defenseman in David Savard versus Montour. Montour's not going to, remind anyone in any way, shape, or form of Aaron Ekblad, and that's not really his game. But the rich got richer in that trade. Tampa picked up. I mean, it reminds me of when they got Zach Bogosian last year.
Yeah, well, Tampa is very based on a solid defense. That's a lot of teams are based on a lot of things. Carolina's based on an offensive defense. Florida's based on super fast forwards. Nashville's based on trash. Chicago's based on a legacy. Mm-hmm. Dallas is based on opening their stadiums first, and Columbus has Tortorella. This division has a lot of interesting stuff going on. But if you put up a team that is 100% like speed forward oriented against a team of so many defensive defensemen like Tampa, it never goes well.
Yeah.
It's like throwing anybody up against that 94, New Jersey 141 trap.
Oh, God.
It's a tedious task and nobody's really up to. And I don't see anybody breaking that down. I don't think that you're going to be able to send some guys in and have them tear down the wall of Tampa, unless I think that Carolina could do it, only because they have those offensive defensemen. and you have a lot more.
It's a balanced scoring. You got balanced scoring. That's why Carolina will give Tampa more fits than Florida would,
Right.
and certainly more than Nashville.
Florida's a one-trick pony.
Yeah, and Nashville, as good of a story as their resurgence is, they're as hot as they've gotten, they could once again fall. I mean, unless they make some really significant trade deadline moves, they could just easily fall back in this division.
I think that we've come to the point in the season where you have 3 top teams in every division.
Yeah.
And that's the relevancy of that division. And then the 4th is just kind of on a rotation. I think really the only exception is like the Metro and the North.
Yeah, I mean, then the North is pretty much settled at this point, and we'll get to them in a sec. Who do you have as your buyers and sellers in this division?
I actually don't know, man. I can see if Chicago gets lucky being a seller, and obviously Columbus has got a ton of players that are kind of top trade pick material. Is Detroit ready to try to come back? Is Detroit in the market to sell off some dead weight in hopes of better prospects?
Yeah, I mean,
could they be a buyer right now?
And they already traded Namath. I think a guy like Mantham probably be on the way out. And there's a few players in Detroit that they can still move. Again, as we've talked about, the question is what are you going to move them for? Are if you move them for picks this draft, you're taking a gamble, because you just don't know you don't have a fully scouted draft class at this point.
It's a genuine lottery.
Yeah, and if you take picks in 22, then you're saying we're going to struggle even worse for another year because you're trading away those assets now, and not getting any return for them until that 22 draft, and then you're going to have to wait another few years before those picks and prospects even pan out. So it's a hard thing for Detroit and Buffalo and all these other selling teams because they just don't. You don't know.
Well, and here's another question on Columbus. Columbus, from the TSN list and just common sense and some of the moves it looks like they might make, I think they understand that they're on their way to a dead bottom situation, kind of where Buffalo or Detroit's at.
Yeah, they're
have they caught that soon enough to not have to go full tank? Can they float back up if they drop some weight right now?
See, I don't know about Columbus. I think Columbus should have taken the opportunity when they lost Panarin, lost Duchesne, and all those people off. And they went for it that one year, and everyone took off in the offseason. That's when they should have taken the opportunity to say, okay, we're going to reassess the franchise and build from within and reset the franchise. That they did have some success last year. It's almost fool's gold when you look at it now, because now there are another year older. They lost even more, prime players off of that team that they could have traded and got some value off of. I don't know. I think Columbus is in for a struggle as well. Maybe not to the level of Buffalo or Detroit, but they're gonna suffer for a while.
Oh yeah,
because of this, COVID and not being able to scout. Not that it's going to delay all of these bottom teams getting back into competitive hockey.
Well, and I think another reasonable question for this year is how much emphasis do we put on last year's playoffs? Really? Was it a matter of adaptability to no play, or no play, no play, no play?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, do we really give that much credit to somebody making a playoff push last year?
And yeah, especially when 24 teams made the playoffs. I mean, like, okay, well, they were in the playoff bubble, and then we had some of those teams that were real low, like Montreal, who barely squeaked in, make a little bit of a run. Um, it's hard to say what the value of, outside of Tampa, and because they won the Stanley Cup, that's pretty much the biggest value you can take from it.
Yeah, but look at who they played.
Yeah.
Dallas didn't even come back.
And it's not unheard of when a team gets a Stanley Cup hangover, or
No, but this is not a situation we've been in before.
yeah.
Nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows how to respond or react.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a team. I know Tampa's talented. I wouldn't say that. Let's say Tampa makes another run and wins the Cup this year, because you're going to have a much shorter off season. That means Tampa will have two incredibly short off seasons in a row, and that's going to start taking a toll on the bodies of those players. And I would not be surprised to see a fall off on Tampa. Maybe not to the point that it causes them to miss the playoffs, but certainly it is going to be very stressful for that team moving into next season. If they make a second Stanley Cup run. That's a lot of hockey in a very short amount of time.
Oh yeah,
and,
that would be tough, man.
And again, next year it is an Olympic year, so you're going to have a truncated schedule again because they're sending NHL players next year. So you're having a very short off season. You're having a truncated regular season next year. You're adding another team into the league, and there's just going to be a lot of stuff going on next year. And we'll be dealing with the ramifications of COVID and all that stuff in the league for a few seasons. I think just getting back into some kind of normal order. The 22-23 season, I think, is going to be the first chance that teams will have a full off season, a full summer to rest, relax, and get back into the groove of things.
COVID has been so weird, and I'm sure it's the same deal for players. Players are people. COVID has been so weird, even in the sense that, like, you watch a movie now that has a crowd in it, and you see people not wearing masks, and you're like, what is this?
Oh, God. Yeah. Why aren't they wearing masks? Damn it.
So I wonder now, like, with a lot of these teams, especially like Canadian teams, Canada, and I'm saying this because we're getting in the north. Canada is, I have several good friends in Calgary. Calgary is shutting back down.
Yeah.
So they are going back into like stage 2 lockdown. Whenever Canada opens, it's probably going to be full open. If that is during season, how weird is it going to be to skate out on the ice? And it's going to be 2 years. 2021, I highly doubt that season there will be anybody in the arenas in Canada. I don't see that happening. I don't see crowds, even with the vaccine. You're Austin Matthews, you skate out on the ice. For the first time in 2 years, people are screaming at you. Then take all the more liberal-leaning states that it's going to take the same amount of time. New York, the Islanders and the Rangers. And
well, they're already letting people in the building now.
Yeah, but I mean crowds.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting like 2,000 people at not in the Buffalo games, but the Ranger and Islander games.
They didn't have that before COVID.
That's the dumb thing about the Sabres is that, and the great thing about the fan base is incredibly loyal. They're still just packing the arena to watch that dog shit.
Buffalo Sabres fan base equal to or greater than Cleveland Browns?
Well, at least it's Hardy. I mean, you know that the fan base in Buffalo is hardy when look at the Bills. Look at
Yeah,
the Bills Mafia. I mean, they jump through tables and they follow that team. As bad as the Sabres have been, it's still, I think, they're half of what the playoff drought that the Bills went through, and they still, the Bills still just have a rabid fan base. So,
it's because there's nothing to do in Buffalo. But
it's true.
yeah, except go to Canada,
And there's Falls View Casino. Well, actually, I think it's
or you can go to Erie, watch the Otters if you want to see somebody win.
technically.
But yeah, man, I think that it's going to be interesting to see. You have playoff hangover. Now you're going to have people hangover.
Yeah, could be.
Where stadiums magically opened back up at the end of the season, and it could be one of those things. At the end of the season, there's nobody in. Okay, we played more than a year with nobody. Crickets, loudspeaker, like NHL 21.
Fan.
Yeah, and I think they actually use the NHL 21 noises this year, which is kind of cool. But next season, if they do let people in, how impactful is that going to be for a lot of these teams?
Okay, let's say Vegas or Colorado makes the finals and Toronto makes the finals. Toronto has not played in front of a crowd this entire season. Now that first game of the finals, they're playing in front of let's say Denver opens up fully, and they're playing in front of the Ball Center now.
Yeah. They're playing in front of a crowd that doesn't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be. I mean, yeah, these guys are professional athletes, and they've been playing in front of packed audiences for years.
But they're people.
But yeah, you're people, and that first time back out in front of a crowd could it could go both ways. It could completely motivate them and fire them up, even though it's a hostile crowd. But
playing in front of a crowd like riding a bike. At the end of the day, that's the question here.
Yeah.
Do you forget how to do it?
Yeah. So we'll see. It could be. Let's say Dallas makes another run and they make the finals again. Dallas is playing in front of. I don't know if it's completely full. I think they
close.
I think that the seats behind the benches are marked off because of they removed the glass there.
Yeah.
So to keep fans safe, they blocked off those seats. But yeah, Dallas is
a lot of people.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people. I've got a buddy that works at the arena.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of people.
All right, so let's talk about the North Division. Who do you have as your hawk?
Jack Campbell all day. Toronto. Yeah. Actually, Alex Galchenyuk. That never thought I'd say that as hot. Unless his house burned down. But no, man. Galchenyuk looked really good. Nylander was out the other night. I watched him. I was really, really surprised at the performance, and he performed.
Well, he's one of those players that is they call the term foxy by proxy, that he performs well when he's paired with talented players.
Right.
If you put him on a third line in Ottawa, he's not going to perform. He's going to be a black hole in your lineup. But if you put him with people who can get him the puck or distribute the puck to him in a position to score, he does have the shot to score. But he's not going to make those players better. It's their impact on him more than anything. So, good to see that he can get back into a position to snipe, and he's got teammates that can get him the puck. Those type of players, they look great on. They're on great teams. The first guy that I ever noticed that was kind of like that was a guy named Valery Kaminsky, who was on the Colorado Avalanche back in the '90s when they won their first cup, and he was on the line with Sakic and Forsberg, and he had a great season that year. They won the cup in Colorado, and was fortunately a free agent coming into that next offseason, and the Rangers paid a shit ton of money for him. This is before the salary cap, so it didn't really matter what they. Yeah, he went to the Rangers and promptly stole paychecks. Basically, he stole paychecks for the entirety of that contract.
Yeah, I remember he was pretty hype terrible, yeah. I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean he was great in Colorado, but he had Sakic and Forsberg. I mean, I could have scored 30 in the NHL with Sakic and Forsberg as my line makes, and I don't really skate all that well. So,
really, you don't skate that well?
No.
Oh, okay.
Fat guy on skates. Mm.
This is where the little rainbow star comes across the screen and says, "The more you know."
But so you could also make the case that knowing COVID and the symptoms that go along with COVID, you could say that Vancouver is the hot team too.
Can you?
With all the flu.
Oh yeah, Vancouver is hot. And also news on Vancouver Sunday. They will be allowed to reopen their facilities to get ready to start playing again.
Yeah.
But it, again, was assumed that the entire team had COVID. And some of them weren't taking it so well. Some of them were undoubtedly pretty.
Yeah, I heard
pretty nasty sick.
Yeah, Tyler Myers was down pretty good.
Also, Tyler Myers got re-signed.
They re-signed him?
They re-signed him.
What?
Yeah.
He's been like he was great in Buffalo. They traded him to
He's a whipping boy in Vancouver, though. I feel like
everyone's a whipping boy in Vancouver.
Yeah, but I feel like they can't get rid of Tyler Myers because then they have to decide who's like the new one.
Well, I mean, they did the same thing to Tanev too. I mean, like they whipped on Tanev, so I guess Myers stepped into that role. But he's
6'8".
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he's 6'8". He was on the team at the same time as on Buffalo, at the same time that Nathan Gerbe, who's like they listed him as 5'4", or I'm sorry, 5'7" in the program. The guy had with his skates on was maybe 5'6".
I remember that guy.
Yeah, Nathan Gerbe. I loved him because somebody described Nathan Gerbe as a guy who plays like somebody who smeared wasabi in his helmet. That's the way he played. If that guy had, his compete had been transferred to everyone on the Buffalo Sabres, they would have won 5 cups just because of his compete. But
wait, no, I'm not thinking of Tyler Myers. I'm thinking of give me 1 second.
Oh yeah. No,
Tanev.
Yeah, no. Tanev got dealt. No.
Who just got re-signed? Somebody fatigue.
I'll have to look.
I'm looking right now.
Okay. But no. So
Tanner Pearson.
Pearson. That's
Tanner Pearson. I knew it was a T.
And they've been whipping on him. But I've heard from several people in that say that the worst fan base, worst media in the NHL to their team is Vancouver.
No way.
I would have thought
it has to be Philly.
Not to the team though. They do it to the other team. Philly is.
You ever listening to the horror stories from Philly?
Yes, I do. I've heard the horror
of the fans of Philly.
Yes, generally it's more against the opposing team rather than their own players. They do have some horror stories about throwing batteries at their own players.
Well, no, Lindros got a hat trick in Philly, and as he's coming out, he stayed on the ice for a while. He's getting ready to come down the tunnel, and there's a guy in a Lindros jersey that yelled at him for missing a pass in the second period and told him he sucks because he missed a pass in the second period. He got a hat trick, and you're wearing his jersey.
Yeah.
And the only thing that you can think is, don't sign my jersey. You missed a pass.
Yeah.
Like, that says a lot. And also, this is really surprising. Pearson got signed to a 3-year, $9.75 million contract, $3.25 million a year.
I wonder how much more that is than his current contract, because again, going forward, we don't know what the cap situation is going to look like in 2 or 3 years. If we have economic contraction based off of COVID, then you're talking about not only the cap, because the cap is going to be flat next year, but the years after that, it could go down. And that's the thing about the salary cap. Everyone thinks, oh, it's just going to keep going up, keep going up, keep going up. Not necessarily. If they, the revenues don't continue to rise, they'll lower the salary cap. That's
Yeah.
just a function of it. And you're going to see teams that constantly exist on that salary cap ceiling all of a sudden caught out because now we dropped the salary cap $2-3 million. Now we got to cut a few players.
Well, it's so interesting too because you have so many teams that are surviving almost solely off of escrow.
Yeah.
Like Florida has skated off of that for how many years? The Panthers? That's been like this whole existence of Florida. It's like, hey, you guys, you want to pay my bills? And the NHL just does it, which is odd, but I guess it's better than another team going.
Especially when you're owned by a hedge fund manager.
Yeah.
Let's see. My not in the North. The Daryl Sutter experience in Calgary is not going well. This kind of reminds me of when Barry Melrose came back and coached the Tampa Bay Lightning, Steven Stamkos' first year, and just flubbed him. He was fired like a month and a half into the season. I think perhaps that combative, abrasive coaching style is just not long for the NHL now. Because I think the team is just tuning Sutter out, and they're just skating to the end of the season.
Now because you can't threaten players. That was kind of his thing, like clipboard in the back of the head style, and now it's
and for it's one thing to call out your players, but press conferences on kind of an occasion for a player, like when Sam Bennett got his, I'm sorry, not Sam Bennett. Who was it? They played their 500th game. That might have been Sam Bennett, and he said, "I hope he plays, with more passion in game 500 than he did in 499." Like, ridiculous. Come on, man. Leave that for the locker room. Don't take that shit public.
Yeah, public call-outs are very out of style now.
Yeah. It may make good ink for the newspapermen in your area, or the talking heads on podcasts like us.
But you have a PR guy for that. Your coach.
Yeah. I think that style is just no longer acceptable. Like, Torts is going to be the last guy to kind of get away with that.
I think Torts is kind of about to Don Cherry.
Yeah.
Torts is almost to the level of Don Cherry at the end of his relevancy in the NHL.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I feel like you can count the hours before Torts gets frustrated enough to Don Cherry a statement. And,
Yeah. What you're seeing, like, because Daryl Sutter was unemployed for a long time. His relationship to Calgary brought him back for this stint. I don't think it lasts beyond this year. Mike Babcock can't find a job back in the NHL. Will Torts get hired on once he gets fired by Columbus? I don't know. Maybe he goes maybe he actually does become the Don Cherry and does like an American version of Coach's Corner, or
I would be so happy. I'll say it this way: if Torts decided to launch his own streaming service at $100 a season, where it's just him commenting on games, I would refuse to watch a game without the Torts overview of it. That's how much I like that guy's as a personality.
Yeah.
As a coach, I think he's terrible. And as a person, I think he's terrible. But as a personality, I would pay good money to watch Torts yell at people.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like Joe Rogan is the host of Fear Factor.
Oh, damn.
That's the closest you'll ever get to a proper comparison to what Torts is as a coach.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is such an awesome person whenever he's not hosting a reality TV show where it's all just people doing really stupid stuff. Like I feel like that's Torts in coaching. Like he would be a great personality. He's just not a good coach.
Yeah. All right. So trade deadline buyers and sellers. This division is very well split. Your buyers.
You're not going to see anything.
Well, you've got four buyers in this division. You got Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Montreal. Everyone else has to sell except for Vancouver, who can't sell.
Toronto is a matter of convenience. Toronto, it's going to be like, and that's what we saw. That's what we saw.
Here on the edges.
Yeah, they're not going to get in a hurry. It's like they're not going to stop at this gas station on this side of town because it's 10 cents cheaper than home.
Yeah.
And I think Edmonton, unless they could somehow pull, a top tier goaltender, I don't think you're going to see any moves from Edmonton because that's really the only piece that they lack. Hard lack of a defensive depth, sure, but so does everybody else. I don't think that's really.
Secondary scoring would help too.
Their secondary scoring is going to come up next year.
I mean, that's what they've been saying for ever since they tanked after going to the Stanley Cup Finals against Carolina. That secondary scoring is on its way, and no matter how many first round draft picks in the top 10 that they've had, they've just never been able to develop that secondary scoring.
Well, regardless, I don't think that Edmonton is going to go after it now.
Yeah,
I think that Edmonton's going to be too focused on maintaining number 2 with number 1, number 97.
Yeah.
Number 2, number 29.
Yep.
Let's see how many numbers I can throw at her.
Mm-hmm. Winnipeg. I just haven't watched enough Winnipeg this year. I've watched them occasionally, right around the time that Pierre-Luc Dubois was making. What are you doing?
Feeding a rabbit.
Oh, there you go.
He was looking at me like all big-eyed, like,
help me. I'm hungry.
Yeah, so he got some treats for being cute.
Winnipeg, I just haven't watched enough of. I watched it a little bit around the time that Dubois was making his debut there, but
I think really that's the only time that I watched Winnipeg, other than whenever they played Montreal, just because I was watching Montreal and they happened to be playing Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And that was whenever Montreal was making that number 1 push and looked super, super good.
Yeah.
Might have actually been Winnipeg's opener.
Winnipeg really, it's an older team, so I don't know if they tinker too much with this team at this point, but they clearly need something to kind of get over that hump. They can't really shake Edmonton. Edmonton's kind of taken over that second position, and Winnipeg is going to go as far as Connor Hellebuyck takes them. So
Winnipeg is going to be a burnout or fade away. There's no in between.
Yeah.
And I think they're just going to ride it to the ground and see if it blows up or not.
Yeah. I mean, Montreal did make a trade for Eric Stahl. I don't think that they're done.
I think for the price they paid for Eric Stahl, pretty much anybody would have picked up Eric Stahl.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like that.
Because that was like stupid deal of the day. They were the first name in the Rolodex, and Montreal was like, okay.
Yeah. Here's some scraps.
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, Calgary, I I anticipate Sam Bennett getting traded out of there.
I anticipate Sam
they
Bennett wanting traded out of there.
would they trade Kachuk? Probably not.
I would like to see those two on the same team. I'd like to see them both on
trade him to
Ottawa.
Ottawa. We'll take Ottawa's first pick and give you
Stutzel.
No.
Stutzel for Kachuk. Because there's a super obsessed GM's assistant that's going to sign off on it because he wants to have a full set of Chucks.
Yeah, that would be an interesting team.
Kid grew up collecting McDonald's toys, and now he can't do with it. And they're also going to pick up Tony D'Angelo.
Oh God, that would be a fun locker room to walk into.
Imagine Tony D'Angelo and the Chucks on the same line.
Oh.
Just everybody gets to play forward for now.
Yeah.
And that's the three guys you have to go up against. That's the Hanson brothers.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, so Calgary and Ottawa, I'm sure that they're going to trade away some of that forward, those higher end forwards that they not higher end, but they're decent forwards that they acquired in the offseason and get some more capital back for them. But they've been relatively quiet during the season. So outside the Alex Galchenyuk first move.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know. I didn't even realize he had gotten to Toronto. I knew that he went to Carolina and then Carolina immediately released him and I wasn't even aware that or put him on waivers and then
it's such a hot potato moment.
Yeah. I mean, I would laugh if Galchenyuk got moved again at the trade deadline because that's 5 teams in 1 year.
Well, he's trying to pull Yager.
Yeah,
because Yager played for 17 teams.
Let's see. He played for Pittsburgh, played for Capitals, played for.
Just name teams he didn't play for because it's going to be easier.
He never played for Buffalo. They always scored in Buffalo. Played for the Rangers. Did not play for the Islanders. Yeah, I mean he played for a crap ton of teams. But towards
he played for 8. The Capitals, the Stars, the Devils, the Penguins, the Rangers, the Flyers, the Bruins, and the Panthers.
Oh, I forgot he played for the Stars.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So
I don't know why I thought it was so much more or so many more.
Speaking of Yager and the Eastern Division,
I thought you were going to say something about Czechoslovakia where he's playing now.
Yeah, he's still playing. Like the dude will never stop playing.
No.
He's never stopped playing. I think Hasek still plays men, like not professional, like like a men's league in Czechoslovakia.
Marty Turco still plays.
He only plays forward when he plays hockey now.
So weird. No, Marty Turco still plays goalie in a men's league in Dallas.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of a ringer, huh? So my hot team in this division is Pittsburgh. They're 7-2-1 in the last 10. They are, they've really created some separation in that third place, and they're actually pushing both Washington and the Islanders at this point. Can they keep it up? Maybe. I mean, this is going to be an interesting trade deadline because this is the first one where you don't have Jim Rutherford involved. Jim Rutherford was always dishing out that first round pick to bring in, whether it was Patrick Marleau or, bringing in Marion Hossa at one point. Ginla at one point. Like they have.
It's so weird to think that Ginla was anywhere but Calgary ever.
I know.
He actually got drafted by Dallas.
Yep.
And
he came over in the Newendijk trade.
Well, whenever I bought that like $50,000 collection of hockey stuff, one of the things that I had in there was a Dallas draft day puck signed by Ginla and a picture of it being signed. And it was the first object Iginla ever signed is an NHL player.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is a cool thing. And it was actually signed for the guy that had the collection, who was the Dallas Stars photographer from their inception all the way up to whenever he retired.
Yeah.
But that was the first thing that Iginla signed. Is I didn't know he ever was. Honestly, my thought of Iginla was so like Calgary driven. That Calgary third, the Stampede horse, fire breathing jersey.
Yeah.
That was like the only thing that I could ever. I didn't know that he played for anybody else, and I started looking into it. I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool."
Yeah. They acquired Iginla in the Joe Newendike trade. Now, and the Joe Newendike became kind of a centerpiece of that Stanley Cup team in '99, and moving forward to that next year where they lost to the Devils in the Cup Finals. But it's a trade that both teams benefited off of because Iginla turned out to be a wonderful player. So, but yeah, Pittsburgh is my number one team or hot team in this division, and again, interesting to see what they're going to do with this. With now it being a new regime in place in Pittsburgh, what they're going to do this trade deadline. Who's your hot?
My heart right now is actually going to be Jordan Eberle for the Islanders for really stepping up in Anders Lee's absence.
Okay.
My not is the goal differential for Buffalo, because if it gets any lower, it will be a hot, and by that I mean in the depths of hell burning and to infinity. No, actually, my not is the coaching staff of New Jersey.
Oh, Lindy Ruff?
Lindy and the boys.
Yeah, why is that?
The last game that I watched Jersey play, there was it made YouTube pretty heavy. There were a lot of awkward hand motions from Lindy that immediately resulted in cross checks and slashings sometime thereafter him making this. I have no problem with coached penalties. I do have a problem with you being really obvious about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Lindy was not above doing that. Like, I remember that game in 2005, like 2006, early 2006. Ottawa was playing Buffalo. Ottawa's, the top team in the division at the time, and Chris Neal caught Chris Drury with a blindside hit, and Drury.
Boy, that guy got beat up, huh?
Drury got was cut and was bleeding on the ice. The next face-off, because no penalty was called on it, and Lindy Ruff was incensed. So the next face-off, he sends out like Andrew Peters, Pat Coletta, and can't remember who else, but basically all the fighters on the team. And he just sent them out, and he said, "Beat the hell out of them." And Jacques Martin put in, the Spezza line, like Spezza and Alfredson and Heatley, and as soon as the puck dropped, they just brawled. So I mean, Lindy's not above doing that, and he almost got Lindy himself almost got into a fight with it wasn't Jacques Martin, it was Brian Murray.
He's been in in a few like almost tunnel brawls.
He wasn't as a player.
Not like Tortorello style, but like
no. Yeah, I mean, there's been pushing and shoving. I mean, and he was an aggressive player too. I mean, there's that famous instance where Billy Smith attacked him in front of the net one day. Like he was just skating. Puck had been sent down the ice, and he came after it and skated by Billy Smith. And Billy Smith like two-handed him upside the head and just jumped on top of him, and they brawled. But Lindy was not afraid to dust it up when he was a player and as a coach. So I'm not surprised.
Oh, Austin Matthews scores twice in 39 seconds to become first NHL player to 30 goals this season.
All right. Way to go, Austin. My not in this division. What did I have? I always write these things down because I never remember crap. James Van Riemsdyk. He did score 2 assists today, but out of his last 14 games, which goes back to the middle of March, we're in the middle of April now, so about almost a month now. He has scored in 2 games, and that kind of mirrors the struggle that Philadelphia has been on. He contributes today; they win. They kind of keep themselves relevant in that playoff conversation, but still, it's an issue. So,
Pavelski got 2 assists today.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's right. Dallas won 4-1 over the Panthers, and Boston lost to Philadelphia 3-2.
Currently, for us, it's into the first for all 4 games that are on. We've got Red Wings tied 2-2 with the Hurricanes. Goals from Martin Necas,
okay,
and Jordan Stahl, and Dylan Larkin and Anthony Mantha. And then in Columbus, Carl Soderberg, who was a good pickup from us for Chicago because we just trade leftovers like constantly. I don't know if you noticed or not, but like we have a really tight relationship with Chicago.
Oh yeah, like all your trades are with Chicago.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up because I gotta pee.
I gotta pee too. Anyway,
let's quickly go over the
2-2 Chicago Blue Jackets. All right.
All right. Let's go over the buyers in this division. I think everyone in this division except for Buffalo and New Jersey are buyers. Jersey and Buffalo, of course, are sellers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much everybody on top is happy with where they're at.
Yeah. All right, sir. Well, I think we'll have a good trade deadline show on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I hope you all join us for that. We'll go over the trades of the day and talk about who won and who lost. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I think we're good.
All right, let's go pee.
We're going to pee. Later, guys.
Take it easy, everyone. Have a great night.